Welcome to Tent Talk, the podcast with Nancy McCready, where we talk about life under the big tent of God's presence and the provoking process of discipleship. Here we go.
If you have ever felt like things are going in the exact opposite direction of how you thought they were going to go, or things are not looking anything like what God has recently spoken to you, then this episode is yours. It is titled, Endure the Contradiction. Take a listen, and I hope it provokes you to go deeper with Him and to connect with me. Hey, everybody, let's talk 2021. As we've been talking about enduring the contradiction, how many of you know that it is time now to plan, to get ready, to open up, to dream, and then get on with doing? And that oftentimes, especially in times like now, is enduring the contradiction of, but I don't know what is happening. How can I plan? Oh, you must plan. You see, because the majority of what God is going to be doing in 2021 is going to be happening straight inside of you. And nothing that is going on outwardly, if the whole world shuts down, that doesn't mean that God shuts down inside of you. So you might as well go ahead and plan as if God is going to continue to move in your life, because He is. Now, by the time you're listening to this, I've already deposited a lot of this in a live Facebook that was done on Thursday evening, November the 19th, on my public page at NB McCready on Facebook. I decided that right before I fly out to Europe and to Poland with my husband for a couple of weeks of strategy meetings and powerful gathering in Legnica, Poland, that I would begin to provoke people to think about and to talk about 2021. We cannot be on lockdown. We cannot act like we're not going to have a life. We cannot let anything else control the inner world inside of us other than Holy Spirit. So we might as well get on with it and start talking 2021. So are you ready for 2021? I'm getting there, and I want to help you get there too. So I'm going to be talking about guts, goals, and glory, because it is going to take guts, my friends, to move forward. And you've got to know the difference between a goal and a desire so that you do not stay on a frustration cycle. And you need to know that the glory, my friends, since we are living in days of great glory and great trouble, you need to know the glory is Christ in you, and nothing can shut that down, listen carefully, except you. And I don't want that to happen. I want you to be provoked. I want you to be encouraged. I want you to begin to take action, though it be imperfect action. My friends, we're not looking for perfect action. You can take massive imperfect action right now that begins to set things in motion that God is speaking to you, that God is providing. And so we want to be those who begin to start thinking about it. So I just wanted to get on here today in the Tent Talk podcast and say, we need the guts to go forward. We need to have our goals set. And we need to know the glory of God is within us to accomplish all that He's written over you. I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, and I saw a meme that said, I'm not buying a 2021 planner until I see the trailer, like a trailer of a movie. And I was like, well, that's funny. But I had just purchased my 2021 planner. As a matter of fact, even though you can't see me, I am reaching across my desk and I am touching my old 2020. How many of you know 2020 is hindsight? That's right. It's almost in the rearview mirror. And I'm touching my 2021 planner right now, because you've got to begin to, get the tangible things moving and in motion. So just because there are those who are trying to pass down edicts and tell you that you can't move freely about, you can't have people at your house to eat, you can't do this, you can't do that, you need to step in with God and find out what you can do and begin to set that in motion. So number one, let's look at guts, my friends. It's going to take guts. And one of the meanings, or a few of the meanings of this word guts, is instinctive, intuitive, bravery, and determination. Remember, we share in the very courage of Jesus. And even though we are enduring the contradictions, and we're already talking about 2021 when there is so much that is unknown right now, but we know the character of our Father, and we know that He has spoken to us. And you're going to have to follow those instincts. You're going to have to stay with that intuition. You're going to need to gather up your courage and bravery, and you're going to need to set your will in and be determined. Remember, we're taking massive, imperfect action. You know, tomorrow when you listen to this, I don't know what day it will be, but when I'm recording this on November 19th, and you're going to be listening to it a few weeks from now, maybe, we are getting ready, my husband and I, to step on planes to fly back into Europe. It'll be my third time since August. It'll be his first time this year. But we feel very strongly that we are simply to follow God in how He's showing us to move. We fully understand that somebody might decide on this trip to not let us on the plane or not allow us into Amsterdam, which means that we get into the European Union and can continue on our journey into Poland. But all we can do is begin to take those steps. So I don't want you to think I'm just trying to provoke you to do something. I'm passing on to you what is being required of me, what I am learning so very, very fresh. So even though I've watched God powerfully and miraculously get me into Europe twice, legally and righteously, get me in there twice during the pandemic, how many of you know I've got to take fresh action and live in fresh favor and fresh faith to move now? Can't rest on my laurels, can't say, oh, they've let me in, this will be no problem. No, as a matter of fact, there are probably more restrictions right now than there were previously. But we believe that this is very, very key and strategic to go now, to get things ready and put things in motion, because God is moving in Europe and God is specifically moving in Poland. Now, all I can do, since I don't control the world, but I do control me, is all I can do is yield myself to God and begin to take action and to begin to move freely about. I want to say to you, if you're going to have guts, you're going to live by the instinct that God has given you, by the discernment, the intuition that He's given you, the courage, the determination. It's time to move freely about, my friends. As much as it depends on you, all you can do is respond to Him in obedience. That doesn't mean if I stand in Amsterdam at the passport check and they tell me, no, ma'am, we are not letting you in today. That does not mean that I have failed, because they couldn't tell me no if I wasn't standing there looking at them with all of my documents in order and my faith on fire. But all I can do is be standing there.
For more information on Nancy, please visit nancymccready.com or follow her on social media at NBMcCready.
I'm not responsible to make everybody else do what they're supposed to do. I'm only responsible for my part. But if I were to sit here in my house, in my nice, comfortable office, and decide here that they're not going to let me in there, therefore I'll never go, how many of you know I would never know the depths of grace that God has provided for me if I'm not willing to tap into them? So I just want to encourage you with that thinking. All right. I'm not telling you that you need to go hop on a plane to prove a point. What I'm saying to you is that's what specific obedience looks like for me. And I want to encourage you to get in on the specific obedience of what it is that God is calling you to, because we're setting in motion right now the things we're going to live in the very near future. So I've said this before, I'll say it again. All of this is going to require intelligent risk. It's intelligent to follow and to obey God. But my friends, when you follow and obey God, there will always be risk, especially in this day and time, the hour of history that we are stepping into. It matters the simple, small decisions that you and I make. And what keeps us from living with guts, my friends, is number one, we're afraid of being embarrassed. We're afraid of getting it wrong. Number two, we're afraid of coming up short and being seen as deficient and stupid. Number three, we're afraid of being humiliated, shamed beyond our capacity to bear it. Now, I'm not going to develop those because every one of you probably knows exactly what that means for you. You can read about it, though, in Isaiah 54, verses 1 through 6, I believe, in the Message Bible, says these very things, that in the day of God's enlarging, it says, don't worry, you're not going to be embarrassed, you're not going to come up short, you're not going to be humiliated. Now, you're going to need to crawl up in that word, and you're going to have to let God show you your specifics. So for me, when these things come up, and they do, when I decide I'm going to step forward with God, there's always the whispering fear kind of down to my right-hand side, on my left-hand side, as I stay on the path and I go with Him. There's always the whisper that you're going to be embarrassed. What are others going to think? The only way I know to deal with that is keep moving with God. And the way I do that is I keep revisiting and doubling down on what I do know, my core truths, while I'm discovering, what I don't know. When I'm walking in unknown times and I'm taking intelligent risk and I'm stepping out and venturing out, it's the only way to learn, is I double down on what I do know, my core truths, which is number one, His love for me is unbridled. I don't control it, but I can receive it. Number two, His loyalty to me is unexplainable. I cannot get over how loyal He is to me as His son, and that He is determined to take me into number three, which is there are undisturbed lines written over me, undisturbed writings that He wrote over me before the foundations of the world. And that, my friends, is what I'm stepping into, is what was written down before time. And I encourage you to do the same. So when you feel embarrassed and you're going to come up short and you're going to be humiliated, step into your core truths. I'm sharing mine with you. Number one, unbridled love. Number two, unexplainable loyalty. And number three, undisturbed lines. You see, here at Nancy McCready Ministries, all right, which Tent Talk Podcast is an avenue of getting out what's going on at Nancy McCready Ministries. We are going to go where we are sent, not just invited. We're going to go not just where people can pay, but where God sends. And if God sends, then God's going to take care of all of those things. But money is never going to determine the depth and breadth, the height and width of what we're able to do here. Here at Nancy McCready Ministries, we are going to know the difference between a goal and a desire. Listen to me carefully. A goal is something that depends only on you and God. A desire involves and requires the will of other people. You have got to know this, because many people are setting goals, all right, that are bringing frustration because they're trying to get all these other people on board. But that's a desire. A desire is something that I want. It might be God's will, but I know that I only have a certain part in making that possible because it requires the will of others. But I can set as my personal goals and the goals of Nancy McCready Ministries those things that only depend on me and God. You see, number one goal is I'm going to go where I'm sent. You see, just because somebody else might decide, if God opens a door and sends me, the only person that can keep me from walking through that door is me. A desire, may be that I want others to, be producers, and I want them to get up and fulfill their destiny and know the Father. Well, I can only do my part in that. And then others have to choose to also step in and make their decisions. So you don't want to stay frustrated because you are constantly setting your whole life based upon what others do and do not do. You get in with what only depends on you and God, and you're going to start moving forward. The number two goal here at Nancy McCready Ministries is to upgrade and invigorate all of our infrastructure and operations, which that only depends really on me and God. If I'm willing to bring things into automation, I'm willing to invigorate, I have a virtual assistant. I'd like to bring on a second. There are going to be people that it's going to be necessary to fulfill what our number 3 goal is, which is to birth, develop, upgrade, invigorate schools of discipleship, internship, and restoration. And again, these things are penciled in because the more I move forward with God, the more they'll get inked. All right? Do you understand the difference? You can erase what's in pencil. Once you ink it, you know I'm committed to it and I'm moving forward. Now, I've shared 3 of my top goals with you, and I want to encourage you to at least right now, if you're able, all right, or sometime today in the next 24 hours, write down what it is that you know that God has put in you as a goal for 2021. That depends only on you and Him, because I want to see you taking massive and perfect action. Because then the glory, which is Christ in you, will be really lived out. This is what you were made for, my friends. You were made for Him and the assignment that He has for the 2 of you to carry out together. So I want you to determine to violently embrace your greatness in 2021. I want you to start talking with God about 2021. I want you to begin to recognize that you can go deeper with Him and connect more with me if that could help you accomplish that which He is showing you for 2021. But now is that time. Be encouraged, my friends, no matter how many contradictions there are, no matter if you hear lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. I need you to hear movement, movement, movement. God is moving, and you can move with Him internally and externally as He gives you the grace, as He gives you the power and the discernment. He is giving us the guts, the goals, and the glory for right now, and you can make that decision, and I hope that you will. All right? So I hope that this encourages you today, provokes you to go deeper with Him and to connect more with me. I love you, and I will talk to you soon.
If you'd like information on how to book Nancy McCready for an event or speaking engagement, visit nancymccready.com.